Hey guys, this is Shaul from worshipguitarskills.com, and today we're checking out the wonderful world of modulation. Now, modulation refers to a whole group of effects where you essentially use technology to alter the actual signal in a certain way where you can play with things like the frequencies, the delays, the actual pitch, and that's going to result in effects like chorus or flanges and phases and all these wonderful things just to add some movement to your playing. Now, this video is going to serve as a quick overview, and if you're in the market for a good modulation pedal, if you're using the classic kind of pedal approach together with an amp, you can't go wrong by getting a Strymon Mobius. I'm a big fan of Strymon as a company and the products they make. Now, if that's not within your budget, there are definitely more budget-friendly modulation pedals out there, but the reason I like something like the Strymon, it's a box that contains chorus, flanger, rotary, vibe, phaser, filter for things like auto wah, tremolo, auto swell, all these kind of fun things all in one pedal, so it kind of saves some space. So if you look at what a Strymon pedal costs, the Mobius, versus what you would have to pay to get a great tremolo, a great chorus, a great vibrato pedal, a great auto wah, a great flanger, all these kind of things, it's going to add up to way more than the cost of the Mobius. So that is what I recommend. I also use a Kemper profiler where I use all the onboard effects. So that is also a favorite of mine. It really just depends on your personal taste. So if we look at this pedal board right here, you can see there's the Mobius and I've got a chorus pedal engaged right now. So specifically, you have a couple of controls here. You have a speed, depth, and then your level. Those are classic chorus controls. And then in this instance, I have two additional parameters that I can edit. So if I turn this, I'm going to play with the knobs a little bit, and I'm going to, with the speed, go all the way to the right and all the way to the left, so you can hear the differences as it relates to the extremes of using that setting. So let's do the same with the depth. And then of course you have the level there. So right there I've got a bit of a chorus sound dialed in. If I kick in the compressor, then I get something like this. So that is the chorus. Then with those two additional parameters, you have a mix as well as a tone. So the whole purpose of a chorus, it really kind of, it adds a second, it sounds like a second guitar is playing what you're playing, and then the way those two signals kind of interact with each other kind of gives us this there's a variation in pitch with the way those signals work together, and then you get this kind of a movement. Now, chorus was used heavily in the 80s by people like Andy Summers from The Police, for example. Almost has a little bit of the swirling effect as I play that. But then it was used in bands like Nirvana, use it in the grunge era, and today in like modern worship music, we kind of see the chorus pedal feature as well. It just adds that little bit of depth to your guitar playing. So chorus is definitely a favorite as it relates to modulation. So let's check out the flanger next. As you can hear, that's a lot more kind of excessive than the actual chorus. So let's go ahead and play around with the speed, the depth, and the level so you can see what that might sound like. So as I play a chord, it's kind of got that slow pulsing together with my sound. Whereas if I increase the speed, it's no longer slow pulsing, it becomes a lot faster. So you want to find that sweet spot. Alright, so that there is a flanger. Next up, we're going to check out the rotary. Now, the rotary is kind of there to mimic the rotating speakers that you had with like the Leslies and the Hammonds and the organs, almost give you that Doppler effect. So let's hear what that sounds like. Again, we can play around with the controls. Obviously, that's a bit of an excessive rotary. Let's dial that back a bit. Next up, we have what's known as a vibe, which is mimicking the Univibe. People like Jimi Hendrix really favor this kind of a tone within his playing. So you can hear the rhythmic oscillation that it adds to the sound is very different than what we just had with the rotary. And you can get kind of creative with this kind of thing if you use it with some drive. So you don't always have to use modulation effects with clean guitar playing. Like Hendrix was a big fan of putting that Univibe on his actual drive. So next, let's check out the phaser. And if you add some power chords with that, now of course that's too excessive, right? I wouldn't really use that in a modern worship setting. The idea here is to kind of introduce you to some of these sounds and that you can hear what they sound like a little bit in the more extreme approach. Now next up is a filter. Now that gives you this auto wah kind of sounds. So you can hear this. Alright, so that filter, it gives that wah effect, right, which is really what a wah-wah is all about, and you can use that in so many different ways. Next up, we have something called a formant. So you can kind of mimic certain kind of vowels, like oohs and ahs in your playing. If you think of like Bon Jovi, I think it's Living on a Prayer, where Richie Sambora, the guitarist, uses that mouse box, forget the talk box effect, right? To kind of give you that, altering the sound of the guitar with those vowels, and that's kind of what the formant does here. Kind of the only two that I still want to show you here is the tremolo. So here's a really cool harmonic trem. And I can alter the tempo. Alright, so the tremolo is pretty cool. There's also a pattern trem on here. I'm not a big fan of that, but I definitely want to show you the auto swell. So that auto swell, you can actually set the rise time, how long you want it to take before it swells in the signal. And that also gives you a really lovely sound on the guitar. So I would definitely recommend that you check out some modulation effects in your playing, because it allows you to access a different realm or different dimension of your tone, so to speak, because it adds some of that movement by playing around with things like your frequency, the phasing, the delay, all those kind of wonderful things, and then you can come up with some very musical sounding effects. Now that's the final thing I'll say within this video, is that you always want to make sure when you are playing guitar and kind of digging in these types of effects in your playing, make sure that you use your ear to dial in those sounds. And when you're adding a sound, make sure that it's musical. So if you go and listen to like Hendrix in the way that he used the Univibe in his lead guitar playing, like in the solo of Little Wing, so musical. If you go and listen to the use of chorus with Police records, or with even like Nirvana, like they did on Smells Like Teen Spirit or Come As You Are, that sound was kind of characteristic of that particular playing. Now also in modern worship music, of course, the guitar sounds don't necessarily get that wild and out there sometimes, although there are instances where you have some really fantastic sounds that's not typically associated with a guitar, that fits very well in the mix. So what am I saying? I'm saying two things. Use your ear when you're playing around with the sounds in terms of your modulation and how you want to use your compression and your boosts and your drives, your delays, your reverbs, the POG, the octave effect, all those kind of things. Use your ear when you tune those things in, and make sure that the end result is going to be a musical sound and a musical tone that, number one, serves the song. It needs to serve the part of the song that you're playing. And number two, it also kind of needs to inspire you as a guitarist. I can think of back to many times where I played a worship session, and for some reason, the tones just worked that day, the delays added like a different dimension. I was able to add some interesting kind of left field sounds, like by using a POG 2, giving some organ style sounds, but then I put that on top of like very ambient reverbs and delays. So it sounds like an organ, but I've got the guitar playing sensibility behind that. And when these kind of things happen, then you as a player, you're inspired by the sounds that you're using. Number two, you can also serve the moment within the praise and worship session in a very different way than what you would not have been able to do if you didn't have all these tones at your disposal. Now, in addition to having all the different tones at your disposal, you also need to be able to dial in the right kind of techniques and types of guitar parts that you want to have available to serve the moment right there and then. So if you want to work on your guitar playing and learn 15 different types of modern worship guitar parts, together with tabbed examples, you can see exactly what I played, together with backing tracks that you can jam along to, and like dual guitar parts. Sometimes we even layer 3 different parts together, and you want to kind of suss out how we do that. Well, you're in luck, because I've got a 7-day worship guitar challenge that you can sign up for free today. Check out the link in the description box below. I really hope you decide to join us for that challenge, so I can show you some cool guitar playing techniques and parts that you can use on your journey of becoming a great worship guitarist and developing your own specific voice, which at the right time can make a very big impact in a praise and worship session. So there we go, guys. If you want to join us for the 7-day challenge, description box below contains the link, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you can get notifications whenever we release new videos just like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.